Recording. Okay, so we are going to start with the for loop this time. Just before I begin, is my voice clear? Because I'm running my fan at full speed. So if that is causing a hindrance, then I will just tone it down. So can you hear me clearly?
Yes, sir, it's good.
Okay, good. Okay, so we are going to work with the for loop this time. The for loop is the third type of loop, and basically it works just like a while loop, but there are slight differences between the while loop and the for loop, and we are going to look into that. The slides themselves, they are they are few. Most of the information will be conveyed to you through the code session of this lecture. So I would strongly recommend that you pay special attention to those. Um, so first of all, the for loop is not fundamentally different from the while loop. It, however, allows us to write a more compact loop and the program becomes more readable. So the for loop was created just so that the while loop it becomes a bit like a spaghetti code. There's too much going on before the while loop and during the while loop. So they created a for loop which works very much like the while loop, but the statements which are written in the for loop are much more compact and it's easy to read. So you give one glance at for loop and you know exactly what the loop is doing. So that is the good thing about using a for loop. Otherwise, it works just like the while loop. And when normally the for loop is used when you know for how long the loop should work. Okay, so uh, when you know exactly like how long the loop will work, you normally use a for loop. It's normally used for incrementing and decrementing values, and uh, it is not normally used in the places where you're not exactly sure when the loop will end or when the loop will be terminated. So that is how the for loop is normally used. It's not to say that for loop cannot be used for something which gives which terminates after unlimited number of tries, or we are not sure how long the loop will run. We can use for loop over there, but normally we use the while loop for that. Um, so the loop scheme, whenever you're writing a loop, there is a scheme that you follow. First of all, the first thing is that you initialize a variable, or you call that a control variable, and you control the loop with that variable. So first of all, you initialize the variable, then the loop, it checks the Boolean condition. Maybe like if you declared the variable I, you check if the variable has a certain value and if it is less than or greater than or equal to a certain value. And if that Boolean value is true, you increment the variable. So uh, the loop every in every iteration the loop checks if the condition is the Boolean condition is true or false. If the condition is true, it executes the statement which are in the inside the loop, and then if the condition is false, it will break the loop. And then you increment the variable, and that makes the loop move forward. Uh, as I said before, the for loop generally follows the same scheme, but all of these statements are put together in one line. So here is the for loop template, and below it, I have given the while loop template, and so that you could compare the two templates together. So in the for loop, you can see like within the brackets, I have written the first initialize, and there's a semicolon after that. So this is the first statement for the for loop, where you initialize the variable. Then the second statement is the Boolean expression. So you check the Boolean expression, like whether it is equal to a certain value, whether it is not equal to a certain value, whether it is bigger than certain value, whether it is smaller than certain value. So you check that over here. And then you increment. So you write all these things, three things in the for loop in the brackets right in front of for. So in the parentheses right in front of for, you write all these three statements. And then you write the braces, and you whatever the statements you are going to execute, they are written within these braces. Now if I were to write the same thing using the while loop, so you can see like first of all I will initialize a variable outside the while loop. Okay, over here you can see like the variable is initialized inside the for loop, but over here the variable is initialized outside the while loop. And then you write a Boolean expression which checks whether this that is true or false, and then you write all the statements, whatever statements you get, and finally after all the statements you write the increment. Okay, so normally if you are working with the while loop, you write these statements, and these govern uh, whether uh, whether the loop will run or not. So this is the expression of the for loop, and this is the expression of the while loop. Now looking at the for loop, you can see over here like I have written for int I is equal to 4, I is less than equal to 10, and I is equal to I plus 1. So you can see like in the first statement, I'm writing integer I is equal to 4. So the variable itself is defined here as integer I, then it is initialized as 4. So it's declared and initialized in this first statement. Then in the second statement, we are checking the Boolean condition. So we can see like, okay, this a variable I which starts from 4, it's less than equal to 10. And if that is true, so it will increment the variable by this. I is equal to I plus 1, or we can write I plus plus over here. And once we have written this, we can write system.out.println I plus th value. So what this means is that the first time it will say fourth value, then it will say fifth value, then it will say sixth value, then seventh value, eighth value, ninth value, 10th value. And as soon as it goes to 11, it will stop. Now, I have told you before, like in the if statement, if you haven't put the braces, it will execute one statement after the definition of the for loop, which holds true over here as well. Since there are no braces, so it will execute only one line after the for loop. So this system.out.println line, that is part of the for loop, and any other line which comes after that will not be part of the for loop. So you should keep that in mind. It's the repetition of what we have done before. So now we move on to the code review. And as I said before, like the slides themselves are very small, but the code itself it's much more longer. So we will look into the code review, and this is where you should pay more attention. Uh, so let me open VS Code. And we have test.java. So okay, let's work with this. I remove this, and okay, so I have already written this class test. It has the void main function, and now I'm going to write a simple for loop. I will write for. So what this for loop is going to do, it is going to start from the value 0 and count all the way up to 5. So it will say 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so I will write for int I is equal to 0 because I want to start from 0, and I is less than 5. So this is the Boolean condition. So as long as I remains less than 5, this loop will continue. And I would write to increment this value one at a time, I plus plus. Or I could have written this as I plus equal to 1, or I is equal to I plus 1. I could have written it this way. So I plus plus is fine as well. Then I write the statement. I write system dot out dot println. We don't need to import java.utility. If suppose if I want to create random values, then I might require to import that. We don't normally need to import that. So system.out.println, and I write value of I, let's give space, and then I add. So this is the for loop that I wanted to write. Now you can see like I can just look at this statement. I can tell like what is happening in this loop, how long will this loop run. So first of all, we initialize with the value of I, where I put it equal to 0. Then I check the Boolean condition. In this case, I is less than 5. So this loop will keep on running till I is less than 5. And I increment it one at a time. So the first increment, the first time it runs, the value of I will be 0, then it will become 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, then 5. Now if everything is fine at my end, this should give me the value 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So you can see like it says value of I is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. It ran for the 5 times that we wanted to run. Now suppose we wanted that the 5 should also be part of this loop. So in this case, I can put it I is less than equal to 5. So as long as the value of I is less than equal to 5, it will run. If I run this now, so it will also give me the value 5 over here. Okay, so that works as well. And what we can do is I wanted to show you like if we remove these braces. Okay, so you will see that this will work if I remove the braces, because now it will execute one line after the for loop. So if I run this now, again, it's working fine. Now, if I write, if I wanted to execute another line after this, so suppose I write it like this, and I say loop is done. No, loop. Okay, let's say loop is done. Loop is done. We write it like this. Okay. So now, as I said before, that is going to execute one line after the for loop. So it's not going to put this line as part of the for loop. Okay. So now, if I run this now, so you can see that it printed all the values of I, because it put this line as part of the for loop, but no, not this line. So it executed all the lines of code, and once the lines of code were done, so only then it did it print this this line. Yes, so this loop, so the question is how did we get the value of I equal to 0? We have initialized of 0, but we are adding 1 to it. So I can understand like why you are having this confusion, because we are writing these statements. So technically, this should happen before we move forward, but that's not how the for loop works. So this increment, it always happens once the loop is executed. So only then will this increment happen. Okay. So this for loop is designed this way. Okay, so it won't happen that you put I is equal to 0, then you make I equal to 1 over here, and then you execute this statement. So what happens is that it puts just look at it this way, like we are declaring the variable over here once. So technically, whenever the for loop runs, we are redeclaring the variable. So it doesn't happen that way. You write it over here, so it declares the variable once. So this statement is run once. This statement is checked repeatedly, and this statement is also written once. And there's no semicolon over here. So this way is wrong. You don't put a semicolon over here. So the computer knows like when you write something like this, what you actually mean. Okay, so it will not increment the variable till all the statements have been executed. So now if I wanted to put Kundan, don't jump ahead. I will be coming to that. So now if we put the brackets over here, so I put the braces, and I put the braces back. So now this line becomes part of the for loop, because now I have put the braces. If I run it right now, so you can see that it's printing the line again and again and again and again. Okay. So now since I put the braces over here, so it's saying loop is done, loop is done, loop is done, loop is done, loop is done. So it becomes a part of the for loop. So that is why these brackets are very important. And as I have said before, even if you have only one line of code, always write the braces. Okay, so it removes any confusion, because you might get confused if you have a tabbed line over there, and you will keep on thinking that uh, that uh, that this line is okay, but it's not exactly okay. It's not going to execute that statement because it's not part of the for loop. Okay, so now now there are few things that you should keep in mind when you are working with the for loop. Okay, the first thing is that this variable I this variable I is only visible to this for loop. Okay, it is not visible to the entire program. So what I mean with this is that if I write um, the value of I after the loop is, and I write I over here. Now the computer, it will not understand what this I is, okay, because it does not know where this I has been declared. So this I was declared inside this for loop, but once this for loop was over, this variable will go away itself. Okay, it will not stay. So now if I run this, it should probably give me an error. See, so it is saying I cannot be resolved to a variable. So it came over here and it did not resolve this as a variable. And another indicator is this IDE. You can see like over here the variable's color is blue, over here it's white. Okay, so it will not take this variable, it will not think that this variable has been declared. Now if you want to do something like that, what you have to do is you have to declare this variable outside the for loop. So you write it like this. And now you can see like once I write int I equal to 0, it's giving me an error over here, it's giving me no error over there, it has turned its color to blue. So it is identifying like, okay, I am having the same variable over here, but over here is giving me an error. This is giving me an error over here because I am redeclaring the same variable over here. So once I write integer over here, I write integer over there. So it's getting confused. Like I have already declared a variable. Why am I declaring another variable with the name I? So what you do is you delete integer from here. And once you do that, it understands like, okay, this variable has already been declared and I am using this variable. So now what will happen is that it's going to print these value of I 6 times, like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then it will print the value 6 over here. Why is it going to print the value 6 over here? So the thing is like what is happening is that this loop will run. It will keep on incrementing the value of I. And as soon as the value of I becomes 5, so I is less than equal to 5. So this is true. It will move forward. It will again increment the value of I. The value of I will become 6, which is not less than or equal to 5. So this loop will break, but the value 6 will stay there. Okay, so once this loop finishes, it says the value of I after the loop is, and it will put the value 6 over here. So if I run this now, so you can see like it changed the value of I, and now it said the value of I after the loop is 6. So you can do it this way. Okay, and you can initialize with any value of I if you want to. It's like over here the value of I is 3, so this loop will start from 3. So if I run this now, so 3, 4, 5, and then the value of I after the loop is 6. So you can make it run this way. Another way by which you can run this for loop is that you put I is equal to 0 over here, and you remove this statement. Okay, you remove this. But you have to keep in mind that you have to put this semicolon over here. If you don't put the semicolon, the loop will, the for loop, it will get confused. It will cause this an error. It will make it an error. So, this is mandatory. But what we are doing over here, we are initializing the variable I outside the for loop, and then we are running the for loop. So if I run this now, Again, it's working, so there is no error. And we can see like, okay, we can initialize, we can declare and initialize a variable outside the for loop. And then we are going to execute the for loop. So this is fine. There's nothing wrong with this, but you can see like it's slowly becoming like the while loop syntax. It's only taking the shape of the while loop syntax, and and then it beats the purpose of using the for loop. So similarly, we can remove this statement from here, and we can put that statement here. And now, since it becomes a part of the for loop, so we have to put a semicolon. So now this for loop, it's only checking the conditional, like the Boolean conditional, it's only checking that. And it's not incrementing, sorry, it's not initializing, and it's not incrementing within this line of code. It's only incrementing over here. So we can, if we run this again, you can see that again I'm getting the same output. Now we can make more changes to this. So what we can do is we remove this line, and since we already have I over here, we do I plus plus over here. Sorry, not plus plus I plus plus. So now we are incrementing over here. So the question comes in that we have I is equal to 0. We have this conditional. We do not have an increment. We are incrementing over here. So it says system.out.println value of I is equal to I plus plus. Now, if you look at it, you will normally say like, okay, we are doing I plus plus over here. So it should make the value of I equal to 1. And then it will say value of I is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, in fact 5, and it should stop over there. But when we run this, it shows us the same output. It shows us 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So technically the value of I remains 0 over here. So this can get a bit confusing. So that is why I wanted to approach it over here. Kundan had asked that question before, so I wanted to explain it over here. So this is, we are doing incrementing, and it's called post increment. Okay, so I type it here, post increment. So this is called post increment, which means like, what this means is that post increment means is that whenever you see I plus plus, so it's going to execute the statement first, and only after executing the statement is it going to increment that value. Okay, which means like over here the value of I was 0, even though we have written plus plus, it is not going to increment the value of I in this statement. It's going to print this statement, and then it is going to increment the value of I. So this is like what happens when you do post increment. So if you want to increase the value before you print this statement, then it's called pre-increment. So then you write plus plus I. So when you write plus plus I, so it's called pre-increment. So what this means is that the value of I will be incremented first, and then it is going to be printed. So let me show you like how this works. So let me run this again, and now it should start from 1. So you can see like it says value of I is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there's no 0 on top of that. Okay. So it starts from 1, 2, 3, 4 because it's incrementing the value. So over here it increments the value, it makes it 6, and then it moves forward, and then it checks if 6 is less than 5, and it's not less than 5, so it will break. The loop will break over here. Okay, so this is what happens if you do pre-increment. So the question comes in: what will happen if I remove this from here, and I put the pre-increment over there? So it should initially start from I equal to 0. Okay, because it should start from I equal to 1 because we are incrementing the value. We are doing pre-incrementing, and it's going to increment the value of I, and then it's going to write this line because we are doing this before we are writing this line. But no, the for loop it again for this line it is only going to print the start from value 0, and then it's going to increment. So this is how the for loop works. So let me show you. So it show that to you. See, it's starting from zero and it's doing pre-incrementing, but no, it doesn't affect how the for loop works. So you can either do pre-increment or you can either do post-increment. And but if you, as long as you do it here within the parentheses, it will have no effect on the for loop. So again, returning, like we don't need to declare the variable over here. We can declare that inside the for loop, and 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 we can just look at this line once, and we know exactly how the for loop will work. Okay. So any confusion till now?
Sir, I just want to confirm that both in post and pre-increment, if we are writing the condition in the Boolean section for the for loop, it will have no effect whatsoever.
Yes, it will have no effect.
Oh, okay.
But it will have no effect as long as you are writing it inside these parentheses. But if you are going to write it over here, it's going to affect the value. Okay. Um, so if you still get confused, like I like suppose if you still don't get it, so what you can do is you can just write a simple program. I copy this and I comment this out. Okay, I comment this out, and in this code I write value of I is equal to value of I is so I write integer I is equal to 0, and I write system.out.println the value of I, and I will put the value of I over here. So if I run this, it will show me the value of I to be 0. Now if I do I plus plus, so again it will show me the value of I to be equal to 0, because it's going to do post increment. So once this statement is executed, the value of I will become 1. But since this line has been executed, so it will not show that value. If I want to see that value, I can write uh, this again, and I remove this I plus plus. I run, and now it's saying value of I is 0, and then it's saying value of I is 1. But if I do plus plus I, so it will say value of I is 1, value of I is 1. See? So, so can we declare other variable in the for? No, you can declare just one variable in the for loop, because that is the control variable. So you will just declare one variable in the for loop. Okay. In some languages they allow that, and not in Java, as far as I remember. So yeah. So you can see, like over here, it's doing pre-increment, so it shows me 1 in the first line, and since nothing has happened in the second line, it's again showing me that value again. So the value of I is 1. So now we can also write this. So now it's going to do pre-decrement. So I'm writing minus minus I, so it's going to decrease the value. So it will say the value of I is -1, and then value of I is -1. So if I run this now, see, so now I can use minus minus, and it's going to show me the value of I as -1. So you can, if you get confused, you can write a simple program like this and see like how this pre-increment and post-increment works. And then this will give you a good idea, and then you can start making your own programs. So this is important. I hope this is understandable now. So we now go back to the for loop, and let me make it bigger. And now we look at different examples, like how we can use a for loop for different examples. Okay, um, let's start with the example of factorial. So for factorial, like factorial of any number is uh, like if it is factorial of 4, for 4, you will write 4 into 3 into 2 into 1. Okay, well, into 1 doesn't really make sense, but again, you will write 4 into 3 into 2 into 1. So you can see like on every step, it's decrementing one value at a time. Okay. Uh, so that means like the for loop, it should start with the value n, uh, and the I should remain greater than 0. And instead of I plus plus, we write I minus minus. So, so now what will happen is that we have to calculate the factorial, and uh, it's going to multiply the variable with itself over and over again. So we write uh, integer fact is equal to 1. So so why haven't I given this as 0? Why have I given this as 1? Okay, let me clarify that. Okay, so I shouldn't ask that because some people might get confused. I have not multiplied it, I have not put it equal to 0 because anything multiplied with 0 will actually make it 0. So I need to like initialize this variable, the factorial variable, with 1, so that anything multiplied with this variable will actually give me uh, uh, the the same variable. So now I have put int I is equal to n. So n can be any value. So let's suppose it's 5. So now if so, what I will do in this program is that I will write factorial is equal to factorial multiplied by I. Okay. So over here, the value of I is 1. So then, variable of factorial is 1. So I will write factorial, which is 1, into I, which in this case is 5. So 1 into 5 will give me 5, and I will store the value 5 over here. Then it will go back. So the value of I will become 4 because we are decrementing. So I'm doing 5 into 4, and then it's going back. It becomes 3. Then 5 into 4 will become 20 into 3, and then 60 into 2, and then 120 into 1. Okay, so you can also like stop this loop over here. So as long as I is greater than 1, it's going to decrement. And we don't need to write this line over there because we only want to show the factorial at the end. So I remove this line, and I write value of factorial, and I write fact. Okay, so now if I run this code, do I have an error? Okay, right. You can see I'm getting the factorial, which in this case is 120. I can make it suppose 8. Let's make it 10. And if I run this now, so this is the factorial of 10, so I can calculate it this way, and then I can make it longer. So now over here it is an integer, and if I make the value bigger, I think that I'm going to run into errors. So I'm not so sure if this is the largest value. Let's make it 25. And you can see the number of digits are not increasing, and that is because this is integer, it's not long. So I should make this long. If I run this, so you can see now since long is can store more value, so that's why I'm getting the long variable over here. So you can see like I can even get the factorial of 25 this way. But you have to keep in mind that instead of using integer, you have to use the long value over here because the factorial is going to be a very long number and you want to store all those values over here. So in this case, you have to fix the bug. Okay, so this was the bug that we were encountering. So now the thing that you might be thinking is that, okay, the factorial normally works as uh, 5 into 4 into 3 into 2 into 1. So we are doing the same thing more or less. The only difference is that we're starting with 5 into 1 and then we get a 5 and then we go with 5 into 4 into 3 into 2 into 1. So it doesn't really matter, but if suppose you say like, okay, this is confusing, I want to start I with 1 and I want to go all the way up to 25. So I put this like this, sorry, and then I will increment plus plus. So again, factorial will stay 1, I is 1, we don't need to start with 1, we put it equal to 2, and it's I will start from 2 over here. Now I is less than 25, so it's not going to multiply by 25, so we have to put it less than equal to 25, and then I will do factorial into 1. This has been incremented, so I will do, like the first time it will be 1 into 2, it will be stored back into fact. Then it's going to be 2 into 3, then 3 into 4, 4 into 5, 5 into 6, and it's going to run this way. So I think I will get the same, see, I get the same answer this way as well. So you can run either this way or you can calculate either that way. It depends on what your preference is. But the end result should be accurate. It should be good. Okay, so this is how you can calculate the factorial using a for loop. And you can see like this becomes easier if I just convert this into a while loop. So what I will need to do is I need to write while over here. I will declare this variable outside the while loop. And then I will put this increment inside the while loop over here and remove this semicolon. Okay, this will do the same thing. The only difference is that now it's a bit harder to read the while loop, like how this is working, but it will produce the same result as well. So you can do the same thing with the while loop, and it will give you the same result. The only difference is that it becomes a bit harder to read like what is happening in this program. So it would be better that you use for loop in such a scenario than a while loop. Okay, so is this example understandable?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so uh, we can. So let's look at another example. Now, if you remember that uh, we were I gave an example of the cricket example, and over here we needed to have 6 balls that were to be bowled. So we make the same you can say over in the for loop. So int I is equal to 1 and I is less than equal to 6. So I plus plus. So we are going to like simulate like what happens in each and every ball, and we can always write the switch statement over here. So switch, and we pass it the value I, and we can write case 1, and we write break, and over here we can write system.out. And one scored. One scored. Okay. Okay. So again, um, yeah. So so this is not actually correct because we are counting the values of I. We needed to count. We needed to like print the statement based on what was being generated, like how much the person scored. So what you need to do is you can write int run equal to 0, and we write run is equal to integer math dot random into 7. So and then instead of I, we needed to write run away. So again, this is going to start with 1. It is going to go all the way to 6, and on every ball is going to like generate a number, and it's going to say like how much has been scored. So switch run. If 1 was scored, this will say 1, and if 0 was scored, it will say case 0, and you are going to write 0 scored. And then you can go on with case 2, case 3, case 4, case 5, and case 6. So we have 1, we have 2, we have 3, we have 4, we have
Sir,
5,
why
we
did we
have
multiplied it with 7? The math
यस
dot
सर
random
6
function.
से मल्टीप्लाई नहीं करेंगे.
Yet
आप लोग भूल जाते हैं मैंने आपको बताया था कि जो रैंडम होता है वो 0 से 1 के दरमियान वैल्यूज देगा ठीक है 1 is not included in that so so even if it gives you the maximum value which is 0.9999 you multiply it with 7 you will always get a 6 so it will become 6.9999 and then once you convert the 6 into an integer it will become 6 it doesn't matter if it is 0.9 0.999999 it will convert that into 6 so that's why so 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and for 5 it says out and for 6 it says 6 code or I can just make this default and remove this breaks line over here. So now this loop will run 6 times and it's going to simulate one over. So if I run this now, I got an error.
Sir, you haven't removed the system print line in the last.
It doesn't matter the error is getting for, I'm getting the error for something else. So let me check that. Java.lang error unresolved compilation problem. Fact cannot be resolved to a variable. So I have written fact somewhere. Let me save this, file save. Where have I written fact? Okay, it was for that line. I removed that line, so it should work now. So it says once, so it says 3 scored, 1 scored, 2 scored, 1 scored, 4 scored, and 0. Okay. So I have written the same program, but this time I have used a for loop to do that, and it simulates one over. So you can write a for loop this way, and you can put a switch statement within the for loop. And you can also you can also give I over there, but then it's not going to like give the commentary based on what you are scoring. It's going to give the commentary based on the ball that you're bowling. Okay, that's the difference which will happen over there. So is this clear? Just this little. Again, you will get the value from 0 to 1. The 1 will not be included, so that's why you multiply with 7. You will get the value between 0 and 6 this way. Okay. You can also like write this for loop and calculate interest. For example, you want to say that uh, how much money you're going to have after so many months. So, so you will need to, you can write the interest, you can calculate interest that way. So suppose the interest value is, so you will write double and you can write interest and you put it equal to 0.1. So when I write 0.1, so it means it's 0. It's 10%. So it's 10 over 100. So that makes it 0.1. And you want to start from the first month. In this case, is 0. You want to calculate the 6 months, and so you write like amount. So you will write double. Let's make it double amount, and you put it equal to 100. So this will calculate the interest per month. So how this will work is that um, you will write. So this was the principal amount, and you want to calculate the value 100. So you will write, okay. So let's make it double. Uh, you can say rupees, which is equal to 0. So what you do is you write rupees. Rupees is equal to 100. Uh, okay. Uh, so this will calculate the rupees for that month. Okay, and this will calculate the interest for that month. So it should be rupees plus. I think I'm doing this. I did not practice this example before that. So I'll tell you like what I'm trying to do. So, so what we are having over here is that we have this amount stored, and we are saying that every month we are going to get the interest on this amount. So the interest that we are getting in this amount is whatever the amount we have, 100. We multiply it with interest, which is 0.1. We get 10 rupees, 10, and that 10 gets added into rupees. So initially rupees was 0. So after a month, we will get this will become 10, and then after another month this will become 20, then 30, then 40, then 50. So if this was so we can write that um, amount, so system dot out dot print ln amount after plus I plus 1 plus. Let's make it months.
So for the collective interest at the end of the 6 months, in order to get that value, shouldn't we write the output statement after the for loop?
Uh, I'll show you. Like let this happen. So I'll show you like what's happening. So you run this. So you can see that after this goes all the way to 7. It goes all the way to 7 because of this. So we run this again. Oh, okay. So you can see that that every month we are getting 10 rupees. So if the amount stored is 10, you will get 10, and then after 2 months the value will become the total amount that we have acquired is 20 and 30 and 40 and 50 and 60. ठीक है, तो आपके नॉर्मली जो आपके डिफेंस सेविंग सर्टिफिकेट्स होते हैं उसमें ये हो रहा होता है कि आपको हर महीने आपको इस तरह के आपको कहते हैं हम इतना आपको इंटरेस्ट देंगे, तो उसमें आपको इस तरह 10 रुपए मिल रहे होते हैं। तो आपके पास अगर आप उसको 10 महीने तक रखें तो आगे पास जो अमाउंट आपने अमाउंट अगर 10% है तो आपने जो अमाउंट स्टोर की थी उतनी ही आपको पैसे रिटर्न हो जाते हैं। लेकिन इसमें क्या होता है, आपके पास जो प्रिंसिपल अमाउंट है वो सेम रहती है। ठीक है, सो यू विल हैव you can write total amount after I months is rupees, you can say amount plus rupees. So this becomes your total amount. So if we run this, is there an error over here? I cannot be resolved to a way. Okay, it did not see, like now since I've declared I inside the for loop, it did not understand like where this I came from. So in order to fix that, I can just declare I equal to 0 outside the variable, outside the for loop. So I can put it equal to this. I can just remove this statement entirely, but I will just write it over here. I just declare I over here. I don't put I equal to 0 over here. And then I remove integer from here. So if I run this now, so it says like the total amount after 6 months is 160. Okay, so suppose you put it for 10 months and you wanted to calculate that. So the total amount after 10 months is 200. So this is normally how these defense savings certificates, etc., they work. And the idea is that if you just store some money to the bank, it's going to like keep giving you the money back. So what banks do is the banks normally put this money into some project or so they buy some property of it, and then they pay you back that amount through that property or through that business. So ये इस तरह का मॉडल है कि इस पे ना प्रॉफिट भी बना सकते हैं कि फर्स्ट कहेंगे मैं कोई चीज़ मैं शादी हॉल मैं खरीदना चाहता हूँ। ठीक है, तो मेरे पास शादी हॉल के वो नहीं है, पैसे नहीं है, तो मैं क्या करूँगा कि मैं लोगों से पैसे इकट्ठे करूँगा और मैं हर एक से ये कहूँगा कि तुम मुझे पैसे दे दो तो मैं तुम्हें इतना परसेंट तुम्हें मैं रिटर्न करूँगा। ठीक है, मैं फर्स्ट हर एक से कहता 2% मैं रिटर्न करूँगा। 5 लोगों से पैसे ले लिए, 5 लोगों से पैसे लिए, इसका मतलब ये है कि मैं शादी हॉल के महीने के बाद 2% करके मेरा टोटल 10% मेरे पैसे निकल जाएंगे, क्योंकि मैंने उन सबको पे बैक करना है। लेकिन मैं शादी हॉल का जो किराया है एक शादी का वो मैं रख देता हूँ जो कि 20% है, यानी कि मैं 100 रुपए अगर मैं खरीदा है तो जब भी कोई शादी होगी तो मैं उसके हर एक शादी करने के मैं 20 रुपए ले लूँगा। तो 20 रुपए में से 10 रुपए मैं लोगों को रिटर्न कर दूंगा, बाकी 10 रुपए का मैं प्रॉफिट बनाऊंगा। ठीक है, तो ये बैंक इस तरह बैंक अपने आप को चलाते हैं। दूसरों से लोगों से पैसा लिया, उसी को इन्वेस्ट किया, उस पर प्रॉफिट जो आ रहा है उसमें से थोड़ा सा हिस्सा निकाल के दे दिया। ठीक है, तो बैंक का ये असूल है। जो इस पे जो वो आता है, जो इस पे शरई यानी इस्लाम की तरफ से जो मसला आता है वो ये आता है कि आप इंश्योर नहीं कर सकते कि आप एक फिक्स्ड इंटरेस्ट आप दे रहे हैं, क्योंकि आपको तो नहीं पता, आपको लॉस भी हो सकता है। मैं लूँ मैं लूँ शादी हॉल और कोई शादी कोविड हो गया और शादी नहीं हो रही। ठीक है, तो ऐसे में हर महीने मुझे 10% का नुकसान होना शुरू हो जाएगा। ठीक है, तो अगर उस पर भी मैं 10% दे रहा हूँ तो फिर क्वेश्चन करना शुरू कर देते हैं कि भाई आगे पास पैसा आया कहाँ से। अगर लॉस होगा तो सबको भी लॉस होना चाहिए जिन्होंने पैसे इन्वेस्ट किए। तो ये एक बहुत लंबी डिबेट है जो कि चलती रहती है। ठीक, तो एक तो ये इसमें मसला होता है कि दूसरा ये कि अगर आप इसी प्रिंसिपल पे चलें तो बैंक जो है बैंकरप्ट हो जाएंगे, क्योंकि सारे बैंक्स सारे जो बिजनेसेस हैं उनमें प्रॉफिट नहीं होगा, और प्रॉफिट नहीं होगा दे हैव टू रिटर्न द मनी, और पैसे कहाँ से देंगे जब पैसे जनरेट ही नहीं कर रहे। तो बाज़ों का जो बैंकों का दिवालिया होते हैं, बैंक जो है बैंकरप्ट हो जाते हैं, वो इस वजह से होते हैं क्योंकि उनका जो इन्वेस्टमेंट्स है वो सही काम नहीं करती। ठीक है। ऐसा केस जो हुआ था वो दुबई में हुआ था कि वहाँ पे हर चीज़ जो थी वो इस पे क्रेडिट पे चल रही थी, तो लोगों ने बेइंतहा लेम्बोर्गिनीज और फरारीज अपने क्या कुछ खरीद के रखा हुआ था। फिर जब ये 9/11 हुआ उसके बाद ये एकदम से जॉब्स वॉब्स खत्म हुई, और तो लोगों ने क्या किया, लोगों ने गाड़ियां वाड़ियां थी वो एयरपोर्ट पे खड़े करके वो वापस अपने घर भाग गए, यही वापस अपने मुल्कों में भाग गए। तो अब आगे पास बेइंतहा प्रॉपर्टी है जिसमें आप मॉर्गेज दे चुके हैं एक बैंक, बेइंतहा आगे पास कार्स हैं जिस पे वो मॉर्गेज पे लोगों ने ली हुई हैं और वो लोग उनको चला रहे थे। अब एकदम से सारी सारी जो है वो वापस हो गई। अब बैंक उनका क्या करेगा? ठीक है ना, आप बैंक अगर कार्स को वापस भी ले ले तो कार से वापस लेने से पैसे थोड़ी जनरेट होंगे क्योंकि इट हैज टू सेल दोज बैक। तो ऐसे में फिर ऑक्शन की जाती है नॉर्मली। ठीक है, तो नॉर्मली यही होता है कि जब आपने किसी से किराया लिया हुआ हो, आप किराया यानी कर्जा लिया हुआ हो, कर्जा ना दे रहे हो, तो आप हो जाते हैं बैंकरप्ट। तो फिर वो क्या करते हैं, आपकी जितनी भी प्रॉपर्टी है उस पर दूसरे का राइट हो जाता है। वो दूसरा ही कहता है कि भाई जितने भी पैसे मैं रिकवर कर लूँ इस प्रॉपर्टी के ऑक्शन से रिकवर कर लूँ, फिर उसका ऑक्शनिंग होती है या फिर वो चीज़ उधर से पैसे रिकवर किए जाते हैं। खैर, तो ये नॉर्मली ये फाइनेंशियल मैटर्स हैं जिसमें आप पढ़ें तो इंटरेस्टिंग होते हैं काफ़ी। तो ये इस तरह था कि यूँ आप इंटरेस्ट कैलकुलेट करते हैं ना। इसमें जो होता है, जो कंपाउंड इंटरेस्ट होता है, ठीक है, वो एग्जैक्टली वो इस तरह का नहीं होता, वो फ़र्क होता है। कंपाउंड इंटरेस्ट क्या करते हैं, वो कहता है कि
सर
आपकी
पहले एक चीज समझा देंगे सर।
जी बताएं।
सर ये लाइन 14 में I+1 वाली बात समझ नहीं आई थी।
भाई आई आपका जीरो से स्टार्ट कर रहे हैं ना, तो अगर मैं लिखूंगा अमाउंट आफ्टर 0 मंथ्स तो फिर तो वो पढ़ने में जरा अजीब सा लगेगा ना, द अमाउंट आफ्टर 0 मंथ। जब मंथ गुजरा ही नहीं है तो मैं अमाउंट कैसे कह रहा हूँ? तो मुझे मुझे बताना है कि अमाउंट आफ्टर 1 मंथ होना चाहिए, तो इसलिए I+1 किया हुआ है। तो ये आउटपुट जो है उसमें तो ये 1 दिखाएगा क्योंकि आई की वैल्यू 0 है, तो उसमें ये 1 ऐड करके दिखाएगा, लेकिन आई की वैल्यू चेंज नहीं होगी, आई की वैल्यू 0 ही रहेगी। यहाँ पे जो इंक्रीमेंट है वो इधर से इस वजह से हो रहा है आई के अंदर। अब क्लियर हुआ?
सही सर।
जो कंपाउंड इंटरेस्ट है उसमें क्या होता है कि आप करते हैं कि अमाउंट, इफ आई एम नॉट मिस्टेकन यू राइट अमाउंट, या कोई अगर किसी का फाइनेंस में अच्छा है तो मुझे करेक्ट कर सकता है। अमाउंट इज इक्वल टू अमाउंट इनटू इंटरेस्ट, सॉरी अमाउंट प्लस अमाउंट इनटू इंटरेस्ट। तो इसमें क्या होता है कि आपकी जब भी हर महीने जो आपकी अमाउंट होती है प्रिंसिपल अमाउंट, उस पर आप इंटरेस्ट लगाते हैं और वो जो इंटरेस्ट होता है वो दोबारा उसी अमाउंट में ऐड अप हो जाता है। तो यहाँ पे रुपीस की जगह आपके पास अमाउंट हो जाएगा, एंड देन over here it will stay amount। ठीक है, तो ये रुपीस की हमें जरूरत नहीं है। अब इसको हम रन करें, अब आप देखें कंपाउंड इंटरेस्ट ये होता है, तभी कंपाउंड इंटरेस्ट को लानत कहा गया है। ठीक है, तो कंपाउंड इंटरेस्ट ये होता है कि आपके पास पहले महीने के बाद आपके पास जो पैसे थे वो 110 हो गए। ठीक है, दूसरे महीने के बाद आपके पास जो पैसे थे 121 हो गए, फिर 133, फिर 146, और फिर देखिए उसी के ऊपर जो कंपाउंड इंटरेस्ट बढ़ना शुरू हो जाता है। ठीक है, तो इसका मतलब ये है कि जब आपका एक महीना खत्म होगा तो आगे पास, चूंकि मैंने आपको पैसे 10 रुपए लौटा दिए हैं, तो आगे पास जो इंटरेस्ट है वो 110 रुपए के ऊपर लगेगा, फिर 121 के ऊपर लगेगा, 133 के ऊपर लगेगा, ऐसे ही बढ़ना शुरू होगा। तो आप ये देखें किस तरह इसके अंदर एकदम से ग्रोथ शुरू हो जाती है। ठीक है, तो आपके जो 10 महीने में जहाँ पे आपके पास 200 रुपए बनते थे वहां पे यहाँ पे 259 रुपीज आपके पास बनेंगे। ठीक है, तो इस वजह से ये क्या होता था कि बेचारे जो गरीब वो होते थे लोग, किसान वगैरह, तो उन पे ये चालाकी से ना कंपाउंड इंटरेस्ट लगा देते थे। वो बेचारे होते वो इसी को पे कर करके उनका कबाड़ा हो जाता था कि भाई हमने इतना पे करना है, इतना पे करना है, इतना पे करना है, इतना पे करना है। ठीक है, तो वो इस बेसिस पे लगाते थे। तो जब वो 10 महीने खत्म होते थे, फसल जब होती थी, तो वो कहता था कि मेरे 100 रुपए तो दो, उसके ऊपर मुझे 160 रुपए या 100 तकरीबन रुपए वो और दो। ठीक है, तो वो बेचारा वो हमेशा कर्जे में ही फंसा रहता था। ठीक है, यहाँ पे तो 10% रखा है, वो शराइ जो थी ज़्यादा सी कम होती थी, लेकिन अगर आप इनको भी इसको 0 आप कर लें 0.2 कर लें आप के 2% आप लगा रहे हैं उसके ऊपर। ठीक है, और इसको अगर आप ले जाए कि आप इसको क्या करें 6 साल कर लें, नहीं 5 साल कर लें। 5 साल का मतलब है 60 महीने। अब आप इसको रन करें तो इसका मतलब ये 5 साल में जो आपने 100 रुपए दिए हैं उसके ऊपर आपको इतने पैसे पे करने पड़ेंगे। ठीक है, तो 100 रुपए के बाद आपका ये तो जो अक्सर जो 2% पे आप देखें 2% भी 5 साल में कितना ये एक्सप्लोड कर जाता है। ठीक है, आप एक साल के लिए करें तो इतना एक्सप्लोड नहीं करता, आपको सिर्फ 26 रुपए एक्स्ट्रा आपको देने हैं, आपने 100 रुपए देनी है उसके ऊपर आपने 26 रुपए देना है। लेकिन जैसे ये बढ़ना शुरू हो जाता है कर्जा तो आपको इतने आपको 5 साल के बाद इतने पैसे आपको देने पड़ेंगे। तो ये पाकिस्तान के ऊपर ज़्यादा कर्जे हैं उन्होंने वो कंपाउंड इंटरेस्ट पे लिए हुए हैं, तो यही वजह है कि पाकिस्तान जो कर्जों तले जो है दबा जा रहा है। ठीक है, तो इस तरह अपनी कैलकुलेशंस कर सकते हैं कि अगर पाकिस्तान ने बहुत के वो कहते हैं ना कि हमने कर्जे लिए और उसको हमने वो कर दिया बातचीत करके हमने उनको चेंज करा दिया, तो नॉर्मली क्या होता है कि ये जो ये 0.02 होता है इसको 0.01 करा देते हैं, वो बहुत खुशी होती तालियां बजा रहे होते हैं कि हमने बहुत बड़ा काम किया। तो लेकिन वो कर्जा कर्जा ही रहता है। ठीक है, तो आपको जो भी आप पाकिस्तान जो है 7 साल से कर्जे के तले दबा हुआ है, तो जब तक वो कर्जा लेके अगर उन्होंने कुछ प्रोडक्शन नहीं कर रहे हैं तो आपके पास ये कर्जा कंपाउंड होना शुरू हो जाएगा। ठीक है, और ये आगे पास प्रॉब्लम क्रिएट करेगा। तो जब भी आप कर्जा लेते हैं तो आपका मकसद ये होता है कर्जा लेके आप फैक्ट्रियाँ लगाएं, आप अपने काश्तकारी करें और उससे आप इतना रेवेन्यू जनरेट करें कि आप ये सारा का सारा फर्ज के हमने 1 साल का कर्जा लिया तो 1 साल के बाद ना सिर्फ कि आप 126 रुपये उसको रिटर्न कर रहे हो बल्कि उसके ऊपर आप पैसा बना रहे हो। तो अगर आपने फैक्ट्रियाँ लगा ली हैं और 1 साल के बाद आगे बाद 150 रुपये जमा हुए हैं तो तकरीबन आपके पास 24 रुपये फिर बचेंगे। ठीक है, तो या बल्कि आप 23 रुपये आप बचेंगे अगर आप 150 कर रहे हैं। तो अगर कर्जा लेके आप उसको सही काम पे नहीं लगा रहे तो आपको ये फिर मसला हो जाता है क्योंकि जो इंटरेस्ट है बहुत ज़्यादा बढ़ जाता है। ठीक है, तो तो ये है कि जो है सूद जिसे कहते हैं, इसलिए इसको तो बुरा कहा गया है कि वो है। एनीवे आप अगर इकोनॉमी पढ़ें तो आपको ये काफ़ी हद तक समझ में आएगा किस तरह, लेकिन ये मैं आपको इससे दिखाया था कि हमने जो इंटरेस्ट है उसको कैलकुलेट करने के लिए मैंने एक छोटा सा प्रोग्राम लिखा एंड दैट हैज सॉल्व आवर प्रॉब्लम फॉर इंटरेस्ट। Okay, so I'll end this lecture over here. If you have any questions, you can ask them. Otherwise, we will meet in the lab.
सर वो फैक्टोरियल वाला थोड़ा सा दोबारा रिपीट कर सकते हैं?
क्या रिपीट कर दूं?
फैक्टोरियल वाला सर
समझ में नहीं आया कौन सा वाला, लेकिन आप जरा टाइप कर दो।
सर फैक्टोरियल वाला क्वेश्चन।
ओह फैक्टोरियल, उसमें आप मुझे ये बताएं स्पेसिफिकली आप क्या समझ में नहीं आया। मैं जाता हूँ फैक्टोरियल।
सर ये 4 के बाद जो आप वैल्यूज लिखते थे उसके जब फार्मूला आपने लगाया था सर वो उसमें ज़रा मसला हो रहा है, मुझे समझ नहीं आ रही उसकी।
ये फैक्टोरियल है क्या, इसमें क्या मसला हुआ है आपको? Let's make it small, let's make it 4. अच्छा जी।
यस सर, इसके ऊपर आपने सर इंटीजर एक लिया था
जी
4 के ऊपर।
4 के ऊपर इंटीजर? फोर के ऊपर क्या इंटीजर लिया?
सर इसी के ऊपर यही समझा दें सर दोबारा से।
देखिए बहुत सिंपल सा है इसमें कि आपका जो आई लूप ये जो फॉर लूप है वो 2 से स्टार्ट होगा, यहाँ पे इनिशियलाइज किया। ठीक है, और ये i इज लेस देन इक्वल टू 4, इसका मतलब ये है कि i जब तक 2 होगा 3 होगा 4 होगा, इन तीनों वैल्यूज पे ये काम करेगा बिकॉज हमने लेस देन इक्वल टू रखा हुआ है। तो ये 2 के लिए भी एग्जीक्यूट करेगा, 3 के लिए भी करेगा, 4 के लिए भी करेगा। अगर आप इसको लेस देन 4 करेंगे तो ये सिर्फ 3 तक चलेगा। ठीक है, अब ये 4 तक चलेगा। तो अब जब हमने ये किया तो फैक्टोरियल, हाँ यहाँ पे फैक्टोरियल लिखा हुआ था, तो इट वाज इंट फैक्टोरियल व्हिच इज इक्वल टू 1। ठीक है, तो इसको हम 0 नहीं रखेंगे क्योंकि अगर 0 इंटू एनीथिंग करेंगे तो वैल्यू जो है 0 हो जाएगी, तो अब इसको हमेशा 1 रखना पड़ेगा। ठीक है, इसलिए हम इसको 1 रखेंगे। तो अब यहाँ पे क्या होता है, इस फॉर लूप के अंदर आते हैं तो ये करते हैं 1 इंटू आई की वैल्यू क्या है 2, 1 इंटू इट विल गेट 2 और 2 की जो वैल्यू है वो फैक्टोरियल में दोबारा स्टोर हो जाएगी। सो नाउ द वैल्यू इन फैक्टोरियल इज 2। अगली बार जब ये चलेगा तो i की वैल्यू 2 से हो गई है 3, सो 2 into 3 it will make it 6 and 6 will be stored back into factorial. Then अगली दफा जब चलेगा तो अब i की वैल्यू जो है वो 4 हो गई है, तो 6 into 4 will be 24 और 24 करने के बाद ये इसको 24 को स्टोर कर देगा, वहां पे ये आपका फैक्टोरियल जो है खत्म हो जाएगा। तो इसका आंसर जो है 24 आना चाहिए। 24 आ गया। अभी कोई कंफ्यूजन?
नो सर, थैंक यू।
Okay, so the other question is pre and post increment.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. मैं ऐसे फैक्ट ही बता देता हूँ कि फैक्ट जो है इधर मैं करता हूँ तो वैल्यू ऑफ फैक्टोरियल इज द वैल्यू इज करता हूँ, वैल्यू मैं कर देता हूँ फैक्ट। तो जब मैं ये प्रिंट करूंगा तो मेरे पास सिर्फ फैक्ट की वैल्यू जो कि 1 है वो लिखी हुई आएगी। ठीक है, वैल्यू इज 1। मैं इसी लाइन को दोबारा लिख देता हूँ, अब ये मैं दिखाएगा कि वैल्यू ऑफ फैक्ट इज 1, वैल्यू ऑफ फैक्ट इज 1, हमेशा मुझे ये दिखाएगा। ये वैल्यू 1 वैल्यू 1, ठीक है, ये आ गया आगे बढ़। अब अगर मैं ये करता हूँ फैक्ट प्लस प्लस कर देता हूँ, अब ये क्या करेगा कि ये चूंकि पोस्ट इंक्रीमेंट है, ठीक है, पोस्ट का मतलब है बाद में, तो ये चूंकि पोस्ट इंक्रीमेंट है तो ये पहले इसकी वैल्यू 1 ही रखेगा, लेकिन 1 ये शो करने के बाद कि वैल्यू 1 है, ये यहाँ पे लिख देगा वैल्यू जो है 1 है, लेकिन ये शो करने के बाद इसकी वैल्यू को इंक्रीमेंट करेगा, तो फिर ये 1 से 2 हो जाएगा, तो फिर ये जो लाइन है ये दिखाएगी कि वैल्यू जो है वो 2 हो गई है। ठीक है, तो इसको मैं रन करता हूँ, तो इसने इस लाइन में दिखाया कि फैक्ट जो है वो 1 है। अब उसके बाद पोस्ट इंक्रीमेंट किया, इसने इंक्रीमेंट हो गया, उसके बाद जब ये लाइन चली तो उसने दिखाया कि इसकी वैल्यू 2 है। तो जब आप पोस्ट इंक्रीमेंट करते हैं तो लाइन जब एग्जीक्यूट हो जाती है उसके बाद वो इंक्रीमेंट करता है। ठीक है, अगर आप प्री इंक्रीमेंट करेंगे, प्री इंक्रीमेंट करते हैं तो ये पहले इंक्रीमेंट करेगा, उसके बाद ये अगली लाइन पे जाएगा। ठीक है, तो अब ये क्या करेगा, वैल्यू लिखेगा वैल्यू 2 और यहाँ पे वैल्यू 2 लिखी हुई आएगी। तो इसको जब आप रन करेंगे तो यहाँ पर 2 दिखाएगा। तो ये था आपकी पोस्ट इंक्रीमेंट प्री इंक्रीमेंट। अब समझ में आ गया ये?
Thank you, sir.
चलिए फिर ये this lecture is over now. You guys can meet me in the lab. Of course, you are just going to download the lab and start solving the lab questions. I will be there if you just don't get something. Okay, I will not help you. I will not give you the answer to the solution, but I will help you reach the solutions. So
सर लैब 10 बजे है ना?
जी, lab 10 बजे. So see you in the lab.